What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 6 of the Dorm Debate Podcast, the podcast where college students talk about NFL news and events. Tonight, we have 3 topics. Our first one, always, is our lock and upset. That will actually happen at the end, as usual. But we will start off with 2 topics. The first topic is actually which team has a better chance to make the playoffs, either the Cowboys, who have Ezekiel Elliott coming back, or the Green Bay Packers, who have quarterback Aaron Rodgers coming back. And then after we debate about that, we will have our debates on who will win the AFC West. We have 3 teams, Chargers, Raiders, and Chiefs, all 6-6, tied for first place. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, see what our prediction is for who will make the playoffs. But we will start off with the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, John, what are your thoughts on who will make the playoffs? And actually, I want to know who's more valuable to the team, Ezekiel Elliott or Aaron Rodgers?
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard question. Who is more valuable? Well, we know that both of the teams, if they don't have Elliott or they don't have Rodgers, neither of them can win. I mean, the Packers have won more games without Rodgers than the Cowboys have without Elliott. So I would say Rodgers is more valuable to the Packers.
Rodgers has been out longer, though.
Yeah, well...
So they've had more games to play with him.
Well, the Cowboys still have a couple more without Elliott, so we'll see how that goes.
Right.
But I just think that the quarterback position is the most important. I think Elliott is important to the Cowboys, but Dak has to step up, and he did last week. He had some good plays, and they won the game. But I think that at both teams 6-6, my opinion is that the Packers have a better chance to make the playoffs because they're versing the Cleveland Browns this week with Hundley, which I think they can win. And then Rodgers comes back, and Rodgers has 3 tough games. He plays Carolina, Minnesota, and Detroit. And I'm not saying that they're going to easily win, but I think that they have to win out to make the playoffs or have a chance, and I think they can with Rodgers. When Rodgers gets in the game, it's just a completely different environment. And the Cowboys, they have a tough schedule. They verse the Giants, which will be a win, and then they verse the Oakland Raiders, who are trying to get into the playoffs, and they won't have Ezekiel Elliott for that game. So, and I don't think they'll win that game. I know they played good against Washington, but I just don't think they'll win in Oakland. And then the Cowboys have a really big game against Seattle, who's also in the NFC wild card. So that's a big game for them. And then the Eagles in Week 17, a lot of people thought the Eagles would put in their backups for that game, but right now they don't even have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, so they might try to win that game. And I think the Cowboys have a tougher schedule, and they're just not playing as well as the Packers are. The Packers' defense is playing pretty well right now. They returned a fumble last week for a touchdown. So my decision is Packers have a better chance to make the playoffs. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah, I agree with that. The Packers have a better chance of making the playoffs. I think I said it before, the Cowboys are done. I don't see them coming back from this. They did win one game, and it was against, what was that game? Washington.
They're not that great.
They're horrible. They're awful.
Their whole offensive line is in bed.
Yeah, they're not relevant. Who's Kirk Cousins gonna throw to? Their coach? Who are they gonna throw to? Again, John with the phone. Jesus, can't let me talk. So yeah, Rodgers coming back, and I also looked at some news articles, and it's saying that the scout team of the Packers is really impressed by the improvements by Rodgers and how he's playing currently right now in this week. So for him, I feel like he could be ready for this week, but you don't want him to be you don't want to rush him back. I think going into week 15, I thought he was going to be rushed back, but actually it looks like he could be ready to play this week, and this is more of just kind of a test week. Maybe he'll get back with the first stringers and throw the ball around more, maybe get a little contact in. So I think Packers have the better chance to make the playoffs over the Cowboys. Cowboys don't have a quarterback that can lead them. Hundley I'd rather have Hundley than Dak Prescott. I can't believe I didn't thought of that earlier.
Yeah, why didn't we think of that and say that?
I mean, looking at the stats, we see Hundley has, since Rodgers got injured, 5 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And with Dak, he has had 5 interceptions and 2 touchdowns.
Since Elliott's been back, or since Elliott's been suspended.
Yeah, since Elliott's been back. Well, he's not been back. He's been suspended. So that means he has to carry the team, which is what Huntley's been doing. And I believe Huntley's been doing a lot better than Dak, to be honest. He's got 2 wins. Dak's got 1, and it's against Washington. And Hundley actually could have won the game against the Steelers if he had help.
His defense just couldn't cover Brown.
What do you have? 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, over 300 yards. They didn't lose because of him, that's for sure. He's definitely grown into an NFL quarterback. I have not seen any improvement from Dak whatsoever. Facing Washington and getting that win was a little one-clap celebration, but now you got to go play a really tough team in Giants. You got to play a really tough team at New York against the Giants, a team bringing back Eli.
Yep, he's back.
Maybe he wants to make a statement. I don't know. Yeah. I trust Eli more than I trust Dak. And, we got Evan Ingram. I need him to get a lot of fantasy points. So I believe that the Giants could pull off the upset, if it's an upset to be said, to be honest. Giants over Cowboys, that's not really an upset, really.
It is, but
yeah, Dak just hasn't shown any improvement through the 4 games that he's played. Hundley, in the 8 games he's played, shown great improvement. Thursday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 300 yards. That's an NFL quarterback that I would want on my team. I would not want Dak on my team from the experience that he's shown without Elliott. The stats are awful. Without you take out the Redskins game, and he has 0 passing touchdowns. That's unacceptable for a quarterback who's America's team. You got to have a quarterback that can lead the team without a running game at all. So Green Bay, I think, will have the best chance to make the playoffs with Rodgers coming back.
Okay, so let's move on to our next topic. Who's going to win the AFC West? All teams, 3 teams are 6-6. The Oakland Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs, and the LA Chargers. So I'm going to start this off, and I'm going to say that I could rule out one of these 3 teams. The Oakland Raiders. They don't have a chance.
Why not? What do you mean?
Listen to their schedule. They're at Kansas City this week. Then they're home against Dallas, who's trying to get a playoff spot. Then they're at Philadelphia, who's trying to get home field advantage. And then they're at the Chargers. Those last 4 games are really tough compared to the Chiefs and the Chargers schedule.
But you're talking about the Chiefs, who've lost 6 of the last 7, and you're talking about the Cowboys, who've lost 3 of the last 4. And they won't have Elliott for that game. So those 2 games, they should be really easy. Because the Raiders they're going up. They've won.
What about Philadelphia then?
That's a tough one. Philadelphia. That's
Oakland might not be able to lose one more game, and Philadelphia is almost a guaranteed loss.
Right. The Raiders versus Chiefs, big one. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
Because you could win that one, and now it's basically a 2 race with Chargers. Because if the Chargers next week.
But then the Chargers will have to beat Kansas City for that to be an important game.
Right. Not necessarily. if the Chargers beat Kansas City 2 weeks from now, and say Oakland beats Kansas City, now it's a two-man race, 2-team race, and Oakland and Chargers, I believe, they face off the last game of the season.
It's crazy because the Raiders versus the Chiefs and the Chargers, they all verse each other. And then the Chiefs versus the Raiders and the Chargers. The Chargers versus the Chiefs and the Raiders. They all play each other.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Looking at the other schedules, Raiders have the toughest schedule coming up with at Chargers to finish out this. Yeah, at Chargers to finish out the season, and at Philadelphia. Those are tough games. I think their first two should be wins, but I like the Chargers schedule. I never really realized how easy it is going forward. They got the Redskins, which they have no wide receivers. You have at Chiefs, which is huge.
That's
game.
Huge. Yeah.
That's prime time.
Yeah, but what happened earlier in the year, the Chargers lost at home to the Chiefs.
Right,
the Chiefs
everybody lost to the Chiefs.
And now the Chargers are on a roll.
I think if Chargers win against the Redskins, they win against Kansas City, I think it's a done deal that, you got the Jets next, and then you got the Raiders at home. I feel like
if the Chargers, let's say the Chargers beat the Redskins, then let's say they beat the Chiefs. That'll rule the Chiefs out. But then let's say the Raiders also beat the Chiefs, then it'll come down to the Chargers-Raiders game the last week.
I think the Chargers can win out. I don't think the Raiders can win out. Because of the Eagles and because of.
But let's say the Chargers win out until the last game, and the Raiders lose to the Eagles. But then the Raiders beat the Chargers in the last week. Then they'll end up with the same record.
Who would win the tiebreaker?
So let's see who has the tiebreaker. Because any of these, they're all versing each other. So who can get. Right now, the Chiefs have the tiebreaker, and then the Chargers, and then the Raiders. So the Chargers would have it over the Raiders.
I just think the hottest team right now is the Chargers. I mean, they lost a fluke game against the Jaguars. I mean, it went into overtime. We had the game in hand, and Eckler fumbled the ball, and that basically gave Jaguars the win. We had multiple chances to win that game, so that was a very winnable game, and we should be in first place. But if you take out that game, we are in first place.
I mean, the only two losses that the Chargers have had since they lost to Philadelphia in Week 4 and Kansas City in Week 3, but everybody loses to those teams early in the year. And then they beat the Giants, Raiders, Denver, lost to New England and Jacksonville, which were both good teams, and then beat Buffalo, Dallas, Cleveland. So they're winning their games.
They're rolling, and they have an emerging star in Keenan Allen that is a threat for Kansas City and Oakland, because Oakland has Amari Cooper, who hasn't done anything this whole season, and Kansas City has no passing game besides maybe Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
They don't really have like a main wide receiver.
Yeah.
So, and for the Chargers defense that's going up every game, it's going to be so easy to cover that pass coverage because no one's a real threat at one position, And Oakland doesn't have a running game. We have a running game. We have a pass game. I just feel like our offense combined with our defense can beat the Raiders and it can beat the Chiefs, and that'll give us a division. Surprisingly, 6-6, and
that's crazy, right?
Right at the spot for a division.
Race.
Who knew?
So you're going with the Chargers on this one, right?
I'm going with the Chargers just because of strength of schedule and the fact that we're moving up. We've had 3 straight wins and about to have our 4th. And also just the amount of weapons we have. I talked about the edge rush last podcast with Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. Then we have Casey Hayward, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Then we go to offense, and you got Melvin Ingram, Phillip Rivers, Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, who's an emerging tight end, probably replace Gates in the future. There's so many weapons that we have that I just don't see the amount of weapons that Kansas City and Oakland could to match that. So Chargers, I think, could come out on top and win the division. Now, how far they'll go in the playoffs, that's a different question.
Okay.
That might be one for another podcast.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to dispute that, and I don't even think the Chargers have a chance. I think it's the Chiefs division all the way. You just look at these. They're versing Oakland, and they're at home. When you're playing divisional games, home field advantage is big. Chiefs playing Oakland at home. Then they verse the Chargers at home. Then they verse the Dolphins at home. 3 of their next 4 games are at home. Then they verse Denver, who's 3-8. They can't even get 10 points in a game if they tried. Miami can't win games. They just beat Denver, but everybody beats Denver. And all the Chiefs have to do is beat the Raiders at home and the Chargers at home. I think home field advantage is going to be big. The Chiefs' offense is scoring. It's their defense. And I think the Chargers have better defense right now. But I just see the Chiefs winning at home at least one of these next 2 games. And I think they'll win this division.
So the Raiders beat the Chiefs the last time they played.
That was it, yeah, because it was in Oakland. And it was a last-minute touchdown. So let's say the Chiefs are at home. Who wins? Is it still the Raiders?
Well, I mean,
it was a 1-point
whoever won
game,
the last game, so it was the Raiders.
Yeah.
And then the Chiefs were at home and they lost to the Bills, 16-10. They didn't even score more than 10 points.
Really, Jared, with the phone? So you're saying that the Chiefs don't play good at home?
No, I'm just saying that just because they're at home, it doesn't make it a done deal whatsoever.
No, I'm not saying it makes it a done deal, but I think that in divisional games, I think when the team has home field advantage, divisional games are close no matter what. I mean, you saw Cincinnati and Pittsburgh on Monday. Cincinnati was at home, and that's supposed to. Everybody's like, all right, Pittsburgh's going to destroy them. But when it's a divisional game and you're at home, it's closer than people think, and Pittsburgh get to really try to come back in that game from 17 down.
Kansas City, they just have no life in them. Alex Smith has turned back into Alex Smith.
He had 4 touchdowns last week. 2 to Tyreek Hill and 2 to Kelsey.
Yeah?
It's just their defense.
And they lost.
Yeah, and they lost to the Jets. So what makes you think that the Chargers could go to MetLife and beat the Jets?
The Jets?
Yeah. The Jets are beating some good teams.
Well, I don't know. Have we faced them?
No, you versed them in week 16. So the Chargers don't have too much of an easy schedule.
But our defense is tremendously better than the Chiefs.
That is true.
And our offense is way better than the Chiefs. It's just like when you say that the Chiefs' defense sucks, we have so many threats on offense that we could put up 28 and we'll win. You know, it's the matchups now. I mean, 5-0 Chiefs are a totally different story now.
Oh yeah.
They're a thing of the past. They've lost 6 of their last 7. They're not the same Chiefs they were at 5-0. Kareem Hunt is not producing the same amount of rushing yards, amount of touchdowns that he was at 5-0. He's back to his 5th round pick that he was when he started. You know, Alex Smith has turned back into Alex Smith. They have no wide receivers that could be an ounce of a threat to the Chargers defense or even the Raiders defense. The wide receiving core for the Chargers, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams.
He's injured.
Mike Williams?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
He'll still play.
He'll still play. He's at the motivational sideline.
You have 2 good tight ends, Henry and Gates. I mean, I think it's a good argument.
And we have an easy schedule going forward.
I think the Chiefs have an easier schedule.
No, because they've turned back into a horrible team.
But you have to verse the Jets, who just beat the Chiefs.
So? What is that? The Chiefs are awful.
I'm just saying that the Jets aren't as bad as you think.
When was the last time we gave up 38 points? The Chiefs gave up 38 points to the Jets. You can't do that as a defense. You won't win any games like that. Defenses win games, and the Chargers are the only team in the AFC West that have a top 10 defense, if not top 5 defense. Casey Hayward, Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa. It's just too much for Alex Smith to handle, and Kareem Hunt's not going to get past that line. You think you'd be able to run 100 yards against that line? You just can't right now. End of the season Chargers are a totally different story. The Kansas City Chiefs, end of the season, totally different story.
The Chargers haven't let up 30 points in a game this whole year.
That's a statement.
That's crazy.
That's a statement.
Their defense
and they've played
well.
Patriots. They've played the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. So can we agree that the Week 15 game, Chargers at the Chiefs, is going to decide the division? Because I think Chiefs and you think Chargers. So that game has to decide the division. Can we agree on that? Whoever wins that wins the division.
Once these 2 weeks are over, Oakland plays Kansas City this week. Chiefs play Kansas City the next. Chargers play the Chiefs the next week.
We'll know who's going to win the division.
Yeah, by week 16,
Yeah.
we'll be like, okay,
this
Chargers have it.
Or Chiefs or Raiders. Like, we'll know.
Now, yeah, but if the Raiders beat the Chiefs,
then we don't know because
then we
Raiders
won't
have to
know
beat the
until the
Chargers.
last game.
Yeah.
But if Kansas City beats the Chargers, then it's like
it's because they all have to verse each other, so it's going to be very interesting.
That's crazy. They line it
and
up like that.
And they're all 6-6. Like, what are the chances?
What about the Broncos?
3-8. They still have a chance technically to win the division.
Really? If they win out and everybody else loses?
Well, if the Chargers, since the Chargers, Chiefs, and Raiders all have to play each other, that means they all are guaranteed losses.
What are the odds? Like, what if out of all of this, Broncos rise up, Simeon comes back?
Oh my gosh.
I would. I can't even like
say what you would do.
Yeah, because it's just not possible. Like, will never happen. Just like how the Cowboys won't make the playoffs. It's just not gonna happen. It just won't.
All right. So now it's time for our lock and upset. All right, so our lock and upset this week, when I look at all these games that are being played, it just looks like a lot of close games. You don't really see a lot of runaway games. And I'm going to start off with my lock. I'm going to go New England over Miami in the Monday night game in Miami. Miami's defense just played really well against the Broncos, but I see New England winning this game. And my upset is an interesting one. Since the Thanksgiving week, I picked on the Thanksgiving week I picked Detroit to beat Minnesota at home, and then the next week after that I picked Atlanta to beat Minnesota at home, and Minnesota's just been rolling, and I have to think that this Case Keenum train has got to slow down at some point, and I think that it's going to be this week. This is their third road game in a row. They're at Carolina. Carolina's in the wild card spot, and they are not going to want to lose this game. They get Greg Olsen back, and I think this is the week that I don't think Case Keenum, like, once they lose this game, he's going to like really do really bad. I think he'll still do good enough to be the starter, but I think that Carolina's going to win this game. Carolina beat New England earlier in the season, and I think that Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, Funchess, McCaffrey, I think they could all beat Minnesota and get more into the playoff race, because right now I think the Panthers are in the second wild card. So this home game is big for them, and I'm going to pick the Panthers in my upset and the Patriots in my lock.
Vikings have won 8 straight.
I know. I've been picking against them for 2 straight weeks. And I really don't want to do it again because they're playing so well. But I just think this has to end at some point. And with the Panthers at home in the second wild card, I think the Panthers are going to really, really, really want to win this one.
I like those picks, actually. Those are very good picks because I was going to pick the Vikings too.
To lose?
Yeah. I flipped it a little bit. I have my lock, Chargers over Redskins. Redskins they're declining end of the season. They don't have weapons at wide receiver, and Chargers are on the rise, and they're in a playoff race, so they're gonna want to win this game. There's no fooling around, no foo-foo shit this time. So my upset, I'm torn because I'm looking at the 49ers and Texans.
So you want to pick the 49ers?
I want to pick the 49ers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of Jimmy Garoppolo.
First game started, he won.
The first game he appeared, throws one pass and gets a touchdown, or 2 passes, gets a touchdown.
Against the Seahawks or something.
Against Seattle, yeah. So I'm like, wow, so this is a pretty good player, right? He had his first win last week, and first play of the game or second play of the game, he throws a touchdown at the end of the game.
So what are you deciding between?
Well, I looked at their win yesterday or last week, and he had 1 interception
and no touchdowns.
And no touchdowns.
Well, they got to the red zone multiple times, but they couldn't cash in. So maybe this week in practice they'll just do a lot of red zone practice.
So yeah, I'm trying to think. Was it because did they rush him in? Does he still not know the plays? Maybe he's a little. I didn't watch the game. Like, did Carlos Hyde? Is he still there?
He's still there. Yeah.
I mean, did he carry the team? I don't know what happened. I mean, they only scored 15 points, so I mean that wasn't.
And it was Chicago, so it's not like.
Yeah, I mean it was Chicago against Mitch Trubisky. I'm torn.
So what are you deciding?
I want to pick it, but
what other game are you looking at?
The game that I'm gonna go with, and you're gonna love this pick. The Browns.
No.
The Browns over the Packers in Cleveland, folks.
To get the
I
first
said it.
win of the season?
I said it. The Browns' first win against Hundley in Cleveland.
To put the Packers out of the race.
Put the Packers out of the race. I said Packers. I said the Packers have the best chance to make it with Rodgers coming back.
But if Rodgers comes back and they're out.
Exactly. Hundley is a great quarterback. I wouldn't say that. He's a good quarterback, but
he's just not good enough to win.
Yeah, it's a rookie quarterback, or I mean a sophomore quarterback, but basically rookie season against a rookie in Deshaun Kaiser. And Deshaun Kaiser, by all means, is not good. But I think other factors in this game, like Josh Gordon, he had his first game this season against the Chargers. I think he had 4 catches for about 49 yards. He did very well for his first game back since 2013 or 2014 or something like that. Did very well. I think that was a little teaser, a little, toe in the pool, and he's going to come back and just jump in, and he's going to be wide-eyed. He's going to start making plays. They're going to send him loose downfield. I think Kaiser and Josh Gordon could develop a connection this week, and the Cleveland Browns will get their first win, and the Josh Gordon era is going to start up again. So, Browns in the upset, and my lock, the Chargers over the Redskins.
Wow.
Ugh, that
does it.
No one's ever picked Browns in a lock. I mean, in an upset.
This year. That's
wow.
A bold statement.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, you just explained how you feel.
It's going to be a stressful Sunday for me. Okay, folks. Once again, that wraps up episode 6 of the Dorm Debate Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, leave a like down below. Help us grow this podcast. We will be back for episode 7. And episode 7, since we have finals next week, it'll be a playoff race type of podcast. So basically, since we won't have podcast after finals week, because we'll all be going home for Christmas, yay Christmas, we will have a playoff type podcast where each of us will pick our final playoff tree of teams in the AFC and NFC. And yeah, we'll all be here for that, all 4 of us, hopefully. This will be the first time in about 4 weeks. But yeah, that's what to expect down the week. Thank you guys for listening. As I said before, leave a like, leave a comment, and we will see you guys in episode 7. Thanks, guys.